Hey folks, Dan from the Conan Chronology here. Ben from Grammaticus Books challenged me and a couple of other YouTubers to do a little 10 favorite comic book covers for the comic books that we own and told them to put them up today. So this is part of that challenge. If you like anything that I put out, you should definitely check out Grammaticus Books. He is extremely well read. He has great takes on things, and he has a really cool book collection. So I would highly recommend you check out him if you haven't already. But I bet if you know about me, you're probably already subscribed to him too. I've been reading comic books since 2001, summer 2001, when I was 10 years old. And I noticed a couple of distinct patterns while putting this together. While thumbing through my comic book collection, I realized there were kind of distinct eras. And I think that says a little bit more about just what I own rather than what my absolute favorite comic book covers are, because one of the things that Ben said we needed to do was to own the comic book. We can't just pick one that we love, but we don't actually own it. So these are, in no particular order, my 10 favorite comic books that I own. I'm going to start off with this little guy. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 41, which is Amazing Spider-Man 482 with its legacy numbering from 2002. The cover is by Jason Pearson, which is not really a well-known name or anything like that. This is not a name that I would expect you to know, but there's one particular thing that I really like about this cover that gets it on this list is the stylization of Spider-Man's weird little tiny ankles and wrists. And I don't know if anyone else finds that delightful, but I feel like this was one of the first comic book covers I ever saw where I was like, oh, like art styles can be really unique, and like it doesn't have to be something crazy. It can be like something like a body style or something like that. And this kind of just opened my world a lot. Jason Pearson did a couple of these from the time, and they're all really cool. They don't really have anything to do with the story of the comic book, but I just love like his colors and his shadows and his weird little ankles and wrists. Like, Spider-Man's Spider-Man. So it'd be interesting that he would have like some weird kind of non-human anatomy. I love this thing. My next pick is not, I think, going to be on anybody else's list. It is purely because of personal connection to it. It is Amazing Spider-Man number 31, which is the legacy number 472, so about 10 issues prior to the one I just showed you. This one is from May 2001. This is the second comic book that I ever bought. And within the previous issue, Peter Parker had become a high school science teacher at his alma mater where he went to high school. And this cover by J. Scott Campbell shows that front and center. And I mostly picked this one because I don't think I even realized this until I was probably 25 years old. But I think this is one of the reasons why I became a teacher. I'm not a science teacher, I'm an English teacher, but looking back, it all made sense that one of the many reasons why I became an English teacher was because Peter Parker was one. And if Spider-Man could be a teacher, maybe that's a pretty cool career path to go on. So it's a J. Scott Campbell cover, and it's not really anything special, but it is special to me. Okay, I promise this is the last Amazing Spider-Man issue, but Spidey was super important to me growing up. For the longest time, between maybe 10 and 14, Amazing Spider-Man was all that I read, and I was reading stuff from the newsstand. You could get it at the grocery store. I would go to Safeway or King Soopers, and I would pick up books off the stand. And I was also reading 60s reprints in black and white in Essential Spider-Man, which is still one of my favorite ways to read the character. I don't understand when people pick up 60s books and they go, it's so hard to read, and I don't like it, and it's boring, because 10-year-old me loved it. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 43. Legacy number is 484, so it's just 2 issues on from that first one I showed you. And this is maybe John Romita Jr.'s most beautiful cover that he ever did. And I think this one's pretty iconic. People have been kind of ripping this one off recently and have gotten in some hot water for it. I just think it's so cool the way that the water just runs off of Peter while it's raining. Romita Jr. always did rain so well, especially on like a skin-tight costume like Spider-Man's. And this one is actually one of the few comics I own that are signed. I think it was Denver Comic Con 2018. Ramita Jr. would sign 3 comic books for free. So I brought 3 of his covers and signed them. So I think this one just looks killer. It's important to me, growing up, and one of my only signed copies. So I think this thing's really cool. I don't think you're going to like my next pick. Just to be perfectly honest, because I picked this one partially because it looks so bad. And for that reason, I kind of love it. This is not a well-known series. This is Spider-Man Quality of Life, number 2 of 4. It was a 4-issue limited series from 2002. It's by Greg Rucka, and all the art is by Scott Christian Sava, who is just credited as Scott Sava here. I think it's really funny online that it credits penciling and inking and coloring. But as you can see, this cover is entirely computer generated, as is the rest of the art in the book. Everything in this book is computer generated. And this is on this list partially because when I was a kid and I picked this up, I thought, holy crap, this is the future. Like, every comic book's going to look like this. And I thought it looked so cool and so realistic. And looking back, I'm like, oh my God, this looks so bad. It is obviously such a stepping stone in computer graphics. And I've seen some younger people, maybe, teenagers or people in their early 20s reacting when they discover this online, going, ew, gross, who liked this? And I'm like, we all liked it back then. We thought it looked cool, believe it or not. So anyway, I think this one is a lot of fun just because it looks so bad, but it is so of its time, which is something I really appreciate about it. Okay, that's the last Spider-Man cover. I promise I'm moving on from here. My next one is not from a well-regarded series. This is from Tim Drake Robin, which was from 2022. It only ran for 10 issues before it got canceled. And at my comic book shop where I was picking it up, quoth the guy who sold the comic to me, dude, you are the only person reading this book. So it is not a well-regarded series. Megan Fitzmartin was the writer, and I thought the writing was okay. I was mostly picking it up because I think Tim Drake he's a close second for my favorite Robin, right behind Dick Grayson, but I bought this one specifically for the Dan Mora cover. It's an homage cover to Robin's first appearance in one of the Detective Comics issues. I didn't look it up, apologies. But the other reason why I got this one is because it is my favorite Robin costume of all time. This design here for Tim, with the black pants with the kind of green cutouts on it, and the red plate on the black shirt with the black mask with green highlights. This is my favorite Robin costume of all time. I made a Robin cosplay based on this. Other than Spider-Man, Robin is probably my second favorite comic book character of all time. And I just love this suit. I think it's super underrated, and I'm really sad in the new Chip Zdarsky Batman series that Tim has gone back to the all-red look. Makes me sad. End of an era. But Dan Mora is probably the best artist working at DC Comics, if not anywhere in comics today, and I just think this thing is really cool. Finally, my regular viewers will find one that they like. This is Conan the Barbarian, number 19. From when is it from? It's from July 1972. I've actually covered this one before in my War of the Tarim video. The issue is called Hawks from the Sea, and it features a beautiful Barry Windsor Smith cover. I love this thing. The colors are incredible with this kind of aqua blue, and then you've got all this orange and magenta on there. I feel like if you just said those colors, they don't sound like they would work out really well together, but you get this beautiful sunrise sea kind of pattern. I love the way the text is embedded into the ship sail. Conan looks cool as shit, wielding a big mace, attacking these undead soldiers from Karamakad, the evil wizard. This thing is so awesome, and I love that Barry Windsor Smith put this nice fat little Barry Smith credit down here at the bottom. This is this is the earliest Conan the Barbarian issue that I own because I don't have a ton of money to throw at it, and I think this thing cost me $19 at an antique shop. But I got lucky. One of the coolest covers that Barry Smith ever did in his time there, and one of only 2 Conan books on this list. This next one kind of changed my comic book reading life. Not this issue specifically, but this series in particular was huge for me. This is Uncanny X-Force by Rick Remender, and the interior art is done by Jerome Pena, and the covers were done by Esad Ribic, who is a really well-known, cool artist. He's done some Conan stuff as well, but this changed how I buy comics because I was looking for a recommendation, and I used to go to this shop called Colorado Coins, Cards, and Comics in Arvada, Colorado, and there was a guy named Andrew he was the only employee who worked in the comic book section of this store, and he said, "Oh man, you gotta read Uncanny X-Force." And I loved it so much. It was incredible. One of my favorite runs of all time. And I decided from there on out, if a comic book shop employee recommends something with enough verve, I have to buy it. Because worst case scenario, I'm out $5. Best case scenario, I have discovered something incredible. And that's what I did with Uncanny X-Force. I think Esad Ribic's art is so dark in a way that works really well with this book, because it's a Black Ops version of the X-Men after the schism happened. I think it happened in 2010. So Scott Summers is leading a version of the X-Men school where the children are essentially child soldiers, and Logan is leading a different version of the school, the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. And he is not willing to use children as X-Men at this point. But to do the really dirty work, he has a Black Ops version working at night called the Uncanny X-Force, which has Phantom X and Psylocke and Archangel, Deadpool, Wolverine, and sometimes characters like Deathlock. So cool. An incredible story. In this case, they're fighting Apocalypse, who has been reborn as a little child. And there's some really cool... I mean, it's a variation on the problem, would you go back in time and kill baby Hitler? Would you, if you got the chance, kill baby Apocalypse because you know he's going to grow up to be a war god who can destroy the entire planet? And does anybody have the guts to do what maybe needs to be done? I don't know, but the art is so cool. It looks so painted and almost kind of mythical, and I love the way he does people's eyes. They're so... there's something kind of evil about it, especially in little young Apocalypse's black eyes as he plays with toys. Incredible work. I love everything that Esad Ribic does. This next one I picked because it is maybe the purest distillation of comic book covers that I own, in the way that a cover should make you go, I want to read that book. And that's exactly what happened when I saw the cover for this book. This is Warlord number 11 from November 1977. The cover and the writing and the interiors, everything is by Mike Grell. He was like a one-man operation on this book, almost like how manga is produced. The second I saw this cover, I knew I have to read that book. This was also used as the cover art for the Warlord Omnibus, which is a great, great piece of work. I devoured this thing in like a weekend, and I've been tracking down Warlord issues ever since. When you see this cover, you know what this comic book is all about. There's a dude with a cool as hell like Thor helmet and like some slave chain type stuff and gems and furry boots and both a sword and a deagle. Like, this thing is so cool. That is what the Warlord is. Just really cool. Great Bronze Age storytelling. It kind of definitely late Bronze Age. Really great book. Check it out if you haven't. These books do not go for very much. Most of them are $3-4 a piece. It's not super sought after, and you probably get a good deal on it. But this is one of the best covers of the entire run. This might be, just as far as the piece of art goes, my favorite comic book cover that I actually own. And that one is for Savage Sword number 39, which is from January 1979. Art, of course, painted cover by the inimitable Earl Norham. I have loved this cover for so long, and that's why this is one of... I don't own a lot of Savage Sword issues. I don't want to say this is one of the only Savage Sword issues I own, but I don't own that many 70s Savage Sword books. But this is, I think, the first Savage Sword issue that I actually bought outside of trade paperbacks, and it's because of the cover. I love the contrast of the blue with the that really intense blue for the title, like the blue and the greens, that kind of sickly green-gray for all the zombies, and Conan just being framed kind of from below. It's almost a hero shot between the carrion pieces of these undead bodies, framed specifically with his face dripping blood around it, and you can see his breath, so you know it's cold. This cover just has everything. It implies action, and it's kind of bloody, and Conan's figure looks great with Norm's art. We got this little splash of red. That little splash of red amongst blue reminds me of like the Los Angeles Dodgers uniforms are so perfect. And I think one of the key parts is just they have this little splash of red in the white and the blue. And that's what that reminds me of. Super cool. I love this cover. Earl Norem was one of the most successful Savage Sword cover artists. I'd take him over Bob Larkin or over Joe Jusko or almost anybody on Savage Sword any day. And this is one of my absolute favorite ones that he ever did. And my last one, probably not one that a ton of people know, but I think you'll know the artist. This one is Eerie number 80, and the art is done by Ken Kelly. Now, Ken Kelly, really prolific fantasy artist. He did a lot of Conan the Barbarian covers. He did the cover for Kiss's Destroyer and Love Gun albums. I think he did both of them. I know he definitely did Love Gun. This book is another one that just grabbed me. I saw it. I was in Loveland, Colorado. Just kind of, wasting time, and I was flipping through the magazine-sized books, and the second I saw this one, I thought, I have to have that. That is so cool. It's for the Tombspawn series, which I wrote about on my blog, and you should check it out because it's a really cool series to follow, and it was tragically unfinished. They promised they had a cliffhanger and promised a conclusion, which we never saw the end of. But Tombspawn is really cool, and kind of like Warlord, we have a Thor helmet on a greenish sort of barbarian vampire dude, and he's got the high-strapped kind of gladiator sandals, and he's got a knife, and we've got a woman who appears to be passed out, and we have interrupted him in the act of murdering her, essentially, sacrificing her, and the colors just look great, like with the green of the vampire and this blood-red sky, and we have a great tagline here that says, "World War III has come and gone, deadly survivors, tomb-spawned vampires remain." It doesn't get cooler than this as far as Eerie goes. I love this thing. So many Eerie covers are so cool. And Ken Kelly probably can't beat the Frazetta covers, but this thing is awesome. So those are my 10 favorite comic book covers that I own. You should check out Grammaticus Books' page so you can see how many people took him up on this challenge, and I'm really eager to see what he selected as well. Thanks so much for watching. What are your favorite 10 comic book covers, whether you own them or not? Were you familiar with any of the ones that I presented today? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Until next time, I'll see you then.